I'd like to start out by saying thank you for the incredible reception that my first video has received thus far. One day after my first upload, I've already managed to see my subscriber count hit 17 and to have my total views on my first video hit almost 60, and that's been amazing. I couldn't have possibly reached such a wide audience so quickly without the help and support of some great people sharing the link out on Twitter. I'm incredibly grateful and will do my best to make you guys proud. Today I'm going to be touching on a topic that most religious people would probably find completely harmless, but is, at least in my opinion, one of the most damaging things that religion tends to do, namely the indoctrination of children. It's not difficult to notice a trend among the religious, being that most of them, upon having children, tend to pass their religion on to those children, and oftentimes those children will continue to hold those religious beliefs for the rest of their lives. From the outside, it can be easy to wonder how that could be the case when the beliefs that they hold often have so little basis in reality, but due to their childhood indoctrination, most children raised religious from birth will remain religious. One of the most common and most blatantly dishonest things that parents and Sunday schools indoctrinate children with is the story of creation as depicted in the Bible. I was raised as a creationist, and it took me until almost my senior year of high school to even begin to call the concept into question. So without further ado, today we'll be breaking down a children's cartoon about biblical creation.
God's masterpiece. Creation. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was empty, formless and dark, but the Spirit of God was there. On the first day, God said, "Let there be light." And God saw that the light was good.
First of all, I'd like an explanation of where the light is coming from. It's most certainly not from the sun or any other star, as those haven't been created yet, so as of yet we have no explanation as to where this light is originating. Secondly, and perhaps even more important, I'd like to know where the darkness came from. If you ask any biblical creationist, they'll eagerly tell you that God created everything. However, in these first few verses, God does not create darkness, only light. Now, anybody who understands light should know that darkness is not a physical thing, but rather the absence of light. By that logic, however, darkness was already separated from the light before God intervened, as they're necessarily separate as one only exists as the absence of the other. God, you have some major explaining to do, and I don't think the children you're being shown to understand that.
Then he separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day and the darkness night.
Well, then God would be incorrect. Not only is it a non sequitur to equate light to day and darkness to night, as they measure completely different things, but I want you to keep in mind that God just separated the light and dark and then called them day and night, thus separating day from night. This will be important later.
On the second day, God said, "Let there be a space to separate the waters of the heavens from the waters of the earth."
According to an article published in 2016 on the website of the Institute for Creation Research, link in the description, their scientists until recently believed that by separating the waters to above and below the sky, God had created somewhat of a dome of water vapor around the earth. Upon subsequent testing, however, they've since realized that if that had been the case, life on Earth could not have survived due to the intense greenhouse effect. Their new leading hypothesis at the Institute is that the water was carried millions of light years away from the Earth and now separates the universe from heaven. Of course, they can't prove this, but that kind of unprovable hypothesis is where God is relegated when one thinks critically. Sadly, the children being exposed to this video likely have little ability to think critically, especially when it conflicts with their parents' teachings.
God called the space sky. On the third day, God said, "Let the waters beneath the sky flow together into one place, so dry ground may appear." God called the dry ground land, and the waters seas. And God saw that it was good.
For a being that, according to most Christians, invented the laws of physics, I didn't think I would have to explain them to him. If the entire Earth were to be covered in an even plane of water, as described and illustrated here, and no land stuck out above the water, as also shown in the video, then there's no way for the water to move to reveal land and have the land to be above the water. If the Bible had said that God created the land or even pulled them up from the depths of the water, I could get more on board, despite the fact that those would also displace water and raise sea levels. However, the Bible specifically says that God, quote, gathered the water into one place. What's sad here is that I have a feeling many children would be able to tell you what would actually happen in this scenario, but they're indoctrinated to believe what the Bible says anyway.
Then God said, "Let the land sprout with every sort of plant and tree." And God saw that it was good.
It's no wonder so many religious people deny science. It's because the God that's supposedly about to design them in his image will design them in the image of a God who doesn't understand any basic scientific concepts. Not only does he lack an understanding of physics, but he also has no idea how photosynthesis works. God just put plants on an earth that does not receive sunlight. And what's more, because of how vague the light created by God is, we have no way of knowing if it's the correct wavelength to facilitate photosynthesis, nor do we even know if it's giving off heat energy to the earth. If either of those things were untrue, the plants would just die. And if the light he created does function just as the sun does, why bother making the sun later?
On the fourth day, God said, "Let lights appear in the sky to separate the day from the night."
Wait. I'm sorry, what was that?
To separate the day from the night.
Hold on, didn't he already separate the day from the night? He separated the light from the dark and then went on to name them day and night.
I suffer from short-term memory loss.
Yes! That's exactly what you say.
God made two great lights, the sun for the day and the moon for the night.
The moon is not a great light. The moon only appears bright because it reflects light from the sun. I know that you all already know this, as do the people who made this cartoon, but the sad and manipulative part is that they know that many of the kids being shown this video see the glowing moon and would just naturally assume that it's a light like the sun.
He also made the stars. God set these lights in the sky to light the earth, and God saw that it was good.
So just to make sure we're all on the same page, God spent 3 days making the earth and putting plants on it, and then, almost as an afterthought, created the rest of the entire universe the next day. Just wanted to make sure we all understood that.
On the fifth day, God said, "Let the waters swarm with fish and other life. Let the skies be filled with birds of every kind." And God saw that it was good.
While I will give the Bible credit for at least having the first animals to be created be the life in the ocean, the very next statement is where it also shows just how glaringly inaccurate it truly is. The earliest complex life forms that we have represented today in the fossil record are indeed sea creatures, as that's where life first evolved. But from the sea, organisms moved onto the land and only then into the sky. However, if anyone finds a Precambrian bird fossil, I may reconsider, at least until that fossil is inevitably found to be inaccurately dated.
On the sixth day, God said, "Let the earth make every sort of animal." God made all sorts of wild animals, livestock and small animals, each able to have babies of the same kind.
Cool. Okay, yeah. Can we get a concrete definition of the word kind, please? No? Why not? Could it be because no matter where you draw the line, scientists will always be able to demonstrate transitions between the kinds? Yeah, I think that may be it. Sadly, the kids don't know that, often because they're shielded from the truth of evolution, many from a very young age.
And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let us make man in our image, to be like us."
Can we please get some clarification as to who God is talking to here? Like, he uses words such as us and our to suggest that there are other beings there creating with him, and the people who know the Bible are expected to just believe that this is referring to the Trinity. But to be fair, that's never directly stated in the book, other than vaguely equating Jesus and God in the beginning of the book of John. My money is on God being a schizophrenic.
So God created man in his own image. He formed man from the dust of the ground. He breathed the breath of life into man, and a man became alive. Then he saw that the man needed a helper, so God put man into a deep sleep, and while he slept, God took one of the man's ribs. Then God made a woman from the rib and brought her to the man.
Hi!
Honestly, there's so much wrong with this section that I'm having trouble even figuring out what to say about it. I guess the main thing that sticks out more than anything to me for some reason is the fact that either this rib separation business had to have taken place with every single other species as well, or God somehow didn't have the foresight to understand his own creation enough to create a viable pair of humans to populate. Oh, and also the people are white and speak English, because reasons.
Then God blessed them and said, "Be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth and rule over it. Rule over the fish in the sea, the birds in the sky, and all the animals that scurry along the ground."
For those of you surprised by the phrasing here of the narrator saying fish while showing a whale, yes, according to the Bible, whales and dolphins are fish, and bats are birds. Clear as mud? Good, let's move on.
Then God said, "Look, I have given you every plant throughout the earth, and all the fruit trees for your food, and I have given you every green plant as food for all the animals." Then God looked over all he had made, and he saw that it was very good. So the creation of the heavens and the earth and everything in them was done. So on the seventh day, God rested from all his work.
Oh, so if everything that God makes gets deemed good after being made, God's rest day must have been when, cancer, hurricanes, and the Ebola virus just suddenly sprang into existence, independent of God, right?
And God blessed the seventh day and said it was holy.
Oh, or better yet, maybe the Sabbath is holy because God creates everything, including the bad, but on the Sabbath, God is resting, so nothing bad can get created. Judging based on the horrible things that the Christian God does later on in the Bible, this does sound like the holiest day we could ever hope to get if he actually did exist. Thank you all so much for watching, and again, a huge thanks to people like Godless Cranium, Vice Rhino, Cosmological, and Shannon Q for all the immediate support and promotion that I received in my first video. I really can't thank you guys enough. Because my first video only went live yesterday and I'm already wrapping up the audio for a second, I think it's safe to say that I'm hooked, and I'm looking forward to creating a whole lot more content for all of you to enjoy in the future. And as always, have a blessed day, fellow heathens.